Fumes, toxic emissions, thick black smoke billowing out of a factory, a far too common sight in many industrial areas. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, they form the black smoke and they do the most damage to the environment. The data on carbon emissions is grim. Did you know that India is the world's third biggest emitter of carbon dioxide after China and America? We've managed to push Russia into fourth place, but there is hope. Today we're going to introduce you to some innovators who see potential in the problem. These innovators are using polluting carbon emissions as raw material for carbon nanotubes, a black powder that can be used to make products as diverse as cement, steel, and even electric goods. A manufacturing industry might be the backbone of an economy, but it comes with an ugly underbelly. These toxic fumes pose a potential threat to the climate. A tire recycling unit located 35 kilometers from Hyderabad, emitting hazardous smoke. Can one recreate the smoke into something valuable? What is happening here at this tire recycling unit?
As you can see, the tire pyrolysis industry, these guys burn 3 tons of tire per every day, and during this process they emit 1 ton of gas. We collect those gas and convert them into CNTs. So you can imagine that 70% of carbon can be reduced, out of that 30% can be converted into CNTs. So you are getting a profit out of nothing.
Introducing this patented process is Carbon Continuum Private Limited, a first-of-its-kind technology that transforms harmful carbon emissions into something useful, carbon nanotubes or CNTs. What are carbon nanotubes? In layman terms.
So the carbon nanotubes are an advanced form of carbon. So these form of carbons are 100 times stronger than steel and 300 times electrical conductive than copper. So these allotropes, when used in appropriate quantums, can drastically improvise the quality of the material. For example, there might be a possibility of building construction of a building using the entire of carbon nanotube in its steel, cement and brick can withstand up to 1000 years, whereas the current construction of buildings can withstand only up to 100 or 150 years. So using our nanotechnological skills, we identified this process and we thought this would be the best benefit to the environment, as we are not letting out any gases getting outside the atmosphere, which is a major cause of the climate change.
And this reactor is the heart of this innovation, not letting harmful gases out into the atmosphere, which is a major cause of climate change. Just walk us through exactly what's happening here, including every element of the reactor step by step.
We tap the gas in between and take this gas into this reactor through this pipe, green pipe you can see. These cylinders are filled with half of the amount of water, where the particles suspended here, and the dry gas is sent into this vessel, where actually the moisture will get trapped down. So since gas is always lightweight, it always travel upwards. So we have collected this gas to this pipe and take it to the flow meter, which will control the pressure and flow of the gas, which is going inside the reactor to get reacted with the catalyst. Once the reaction is completed, we stop the machine, we remove the baggage filter, we just tap that and we collect the CNT's powder in the form of powder.
The final output is this black powder, which is then purified to give commercially viable carbon nanotubes. CNTs have wide applications in different sectors like electronics, automobiles, and even construction. A company that's still in its nascent stage, Carbon Continuum has big plans of expanding its footprint into other industries polluting the environment. Imagine we're talking about 10 years in the future. Who do you think typically your corporate industrial partners would be? Which industries would they be from?
Today, the carbon nanotubes are used in very specialized industries such as aerospace, defense and high-end electronics. but our focus would be to cut down costs and make it more affordable to the masses. We identify industries like steel, rubber, cement, plastic, automobiles to be benefited out of this.
A technology that has one of the most effective ways of carbon capture, a process that has the potential to change the dynamics of climate change globally. Carbon Continuum Limited is on a quest for zero carbon emissions. We have seen two exciting projects, each doing their part to work with our environment rather than against it. Now let's understand from Dr. R.K. Pachori the level and nature of innovation that's required to tackle the challenge of climate management. You alluded to how managing the effects of climate change is almost as important as trying to limit future negative effects on the climate. Why is managing the effects of climate change and adjusting and adapting as important as
Well, climate change is essentially a collective problem. I mean, it faces all living species on this planet. So while, of course, you need action at the level of the community, at the level of towns and cities, subnational levels, national levels, and the international levels, ultimately it's the individual who has to start taking this problem seriously. In a democracy, fortunately, if all the members of society realize that something needs to be done, then our leaders will also act. And therefore, I would submit that perhaps the most important contribution we can make to meeting this challenge and solving this problem is to create awareness on the reality and the truth underlying climate change.
when you were accepting the Nobel Peace Prize, you referenced Vasudeva Kutumbakam. What does that mean? How do you apply it to your philosophy on climate change and climate management?
What Vasudeva Kutumbakam means, that climate change is clearly one subject in which this applies universally across the globe. So I believe that we must realize that if there are conflicts in some part of the world which are exacerbated by climate change, they're going to affect everybody. If people are going to be displaced, where are they going to go? They become boat people moving to different parts of the globe.
Can we apply the principle of Shunya, or the quest for zero, to climate management rather than greenhouse gases and carbon emissions?
Well, Shunya to my mind is the embodiment of knowledge, because it's this Shunya which really brought about a major revolution in the way human beings deal with numbers, with transactions, and everything that has a mathematical basis. And I think if we apply this as a philosophy, as a principle, that we need innovation, we need knowledge, then I think all of us will be able to not only harness the power of knowledge, but apply it in our daily lives and on a collective basis, whereby we can solve this problem. And I think this problem is solvable. All we need to do is move in the direction of what Shunya has taught us.
Dr. Pachori, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Climate change is perhaps the greatest threat to planet Earth. Most scientists agree that the Earth is warming at an alarming rate, and the onus lies on us, humans. Today, we've seen two innovations that offer hope, innovations that could even arrest climate change. Well, that's it on this edition of DuPont Presents The Power of Shunya, Quest for Zero, a show that celebrates science and innovation, technologies that could secure our future, human ingenuity that could reduce our challenges to zero. Till next week then, goodbye.